Hi, my name is Jamie Escalante, and I am going to do just a brief analysis of a specific agent of socialization, the mass media. I've chosen a specific magazine that we'll get to look at a bit more in depth. We'll talk about the target audience, what sort of demographic this specific magazine is focusing in on. We'll look at the advertisements, and then we'll talk briefly about some of the terms that are important when we look at mass media in general, and when we're in regards to sociology and socialization. So first we'll just start off with just what the definition of socialization is. The process of learning and internalizing the values, beliefs, and norms of our social group by which we become functioning members of the society. Won't go too much into that right now. We'll go ahead and just get started. Now, the magazine that I've chosen is titled In Style. That speaks in and of itself. This is the most recent issue, November 2015. We have Drew Barrymore, a very famous actress, on the cover. Headline 50 Best Dressed, which style sensations made our list and why. So right away we know that this is geared towards women. This is our target audience here. I have this listed. Middle class women, not poor women. Poor women would not be able to, or they would not have the excess money to be caring too much about what they are putting across. And then we also have that it is a multicultural audience. Throughout the pages of the magazine, we don't see any one specific type of race depicted. We have every type is catered to in this magazine, which is special, focusing in on the fact that this is titled In Style. So here our target audience is not only women, not only, multi ethnicities and middle class, but they're also individuals who, care about what they're looking like, care about what they're wearing, and probably how they're viewed by others. So we'll go ahead and just move on now to look at some of the advertisements here. So we have, I'm just going to go ahead and pause that so we can just flip through at my leisure. We have this first advertisement here that kind of is, has a sort of whimsical characteristic here. We have a sort of, with this brand name, this sign, this Skagen, we, just this sort of product of our material culture. We see a playing to a more romantic side, I think, of the woman who, is, caring about what they look like. Perhaps, why do they care what they look like? Maybe they're wanting to attract someone specific. And so this specific advertisement is kind of a catering to that in its readers and its viewers here. We have something that is somewhat extravagant, probably not something necessary. I know that this picture doesn't really look like these individuals are on a time crunch. They look to be very, at ease. And so we have, with these kind of juxtaposed, kind of side by side here, very different in and of themselves. And so we have kind of a silent sort of question and appeal to perhaps maybe inner desires of the viewers here and the readers here, kind of playing to their imagination, appealing to their imagination rather, and maybe Skagen can do that for them. That advertisement was right back to back with this specific page here, the pastel pants. It kind of, we have a watch shown here, which is much more affordable than the Skagen one, but very very strategically placed advertisement over there. If you want the romantic starry night embrace, then maybe you'd want the Skagen watch, is kind of what I got from it. So we'll go ahead and move on. Okay, so then again, so we have infused well-being into every day. So obviously the demographic is middle class, sort of, multicultural demographic who care what they look like, probably care also about what, how they feel, what they're putting into their bodies. So we have this advertisement here of Yogi, kind of just playing to that. Also, in women's lives, same thing here with Quaker, what the best mornings are made of. We also have here something that is evident with the last two advertisements is a elevation of what is, healthy, maybe what's good for you, which isn't something necessarily that is really revered by all of society. We know a lot of, not everyone believes in this way, but this could be an example of hegemony, which is when one specific value, perhaps of a dominant social group, is more or less accepted as the norm just across the board. So when we look at, a powerful social group, middle class or the, upper class, and how they value health and have the ability to take care of themselves and to appear in a better way, that seems to just be what is normalized and what is portrayed all around. And so there's almost now, kind of a taboo against eating unhealthy or not taking care of oneself as much as one should. Interesting there. Here we have a sort of status symbol. We have a brand, Judith Ripka. This is one indication in the magazine that this is definitely geared towards the middle class. Definitely, this is definitely a middle class sort of brand. The poor would not, and the lower classes would not have the means to avail themselves of this sort of luxury. Again, we have just a focus on the appearance here, which is assumed for a magazine like InStyle. What I believe the whole magazine kind of plays into is the term of that you would find in sociology of a dramaturgy, just the impression that's being put across here, really wanting to make a specific impression. We have that here very clearly, get noticed, with visibly softer lips, wanting to portray something about oneself here. And we see a lot of that in this specific magazine, InStyle. Here we have an example of a norm that is being reinforced in culture and to the specific demographic. Though we have, spoken at length about what is being portrayed and advertised and to this specific group, we also have this specific norm has not escaped that group. In that women are considered and encouraged to be motherly, to think about their children. This is definitely a norm that we find in our culture. This is not, this is something that is just accepted for all types of women. Here we have two different, kind of ethnicities here at play, and then we have little pig and clothing for children is what we see here. So just as the mother is into style, it looks like the little girls are also being socialized in that way too, to care about what they look like and how they're portraying themselves and what they're wearing. Very, very, very highly valued. Here also we have sort of a, what exactly is the difference between want and need, kind of a Milano Pepperidge Farm, really appealing to that sort of materialistic aspect of this demographic and trying to draw them in with this sort of cookie, though they may not need it. They may want it, like a lot of the things that we've seen so far in this specific magazine. Oh, here we go, more just catering to this demographic's desire to really put a specific image forward. So we have just a lot of that, 5 days, and you'll see a truly radiant smile. Very interesting here to see how superficial, how much of an effect or focus there is on the appearance here with this specific group of people. You would think that people who, the magazine doesn't really consider that people who care about style maybe also care about poetry or also care about art, but we don't really see that. We do. This is an interesting advertisement. This advertisement actually almost looks like it's a work of art in a sense. The way that the colors go and the woman is portrayed, very fictional looking and very idealized. again, just looks like maybe something you might see in an art gallery. The way that it is just structured, it is very beautiful, very pleasing to the eye. Another image of just what women are supposed to look like. Perhaps maybe attempting to look like this. Just this idealized version of femininity is what takes all of women's time, so they don't have time to be distracted by books or movies or art. Not sure. We'll keep going. Just more of this sort of sexualized advertisements, which is kind of interesting because this is a women's magazine. And then we just have our last image here of InStyle once more, and we'll go to just review the terms that we went over. We talked about multiculturalism, which is a policy that values diverse racial, ethnic, national, linguistic backgrounds, encourages retention of cultural differences within society rather than assimilation. I believe that we saw that. We saw many different types of women, all, however, much the same, focused on appearance, focused on what they look like, wanting to put that across. Hegemony, we went over. Norm with children, social control. Let's talk about that real quick. The formal and informal mechanisms used to elicit conformity to values and norms and thus increase social cohesion. This specific magazine seems to be a great example of this. Social control, where we have, though it's multicultural, we could probably see the same sort of values really displayed and portrayed by different classes, upper class and lower class. This just seems to be something that women all have in common, this focus on their appearance. This seems to be just a sort of value and norm that is what it is in our culture, that kind of gives that social cohesion to all of women. It's something that kind of binds us. Material culture, the objects associated with the cultural group, such as tools, machines, utensils, building, and artwork, any physical object which we give social meaning. So all the things that we saw in our advertisements would be examples of demonstrations of our material culture. Sign, a symbol that stands for, conveys an idea. We see that in brand names. Dramaturgy. This is what we talked about a lot, or what I talked about a lot, an approach pioneered by Irving Goffman in which social life is analyzed in terms of its similarities to theatrical performance. Seems like women's, no, I wouldn't say women specifically, but we do definitely see, we did see that in InStyle, wanting to appear a specific way, and put a specific persona forth for specific purposes. Agent of socialization, we went over in the beginning, mass media being one of those tools. A status, a position in a social hierarchy that carries a particular set of expectations, which we mentioned when we talked about the ring. That would definitely be a sort of a status, a symbol, which would definitely be unique to that specific class and demographic. Agency, the ability of the individual to act freely and independently. I wanted to bring this in because though we're talking about socialization and talking about how, different images, different advertisements could perhaps reinforce, specific values that are already in place, or messages that are being, conveyed to us about who we should be, we in general, but also specifically, since we're speaking about a specific demographic for the sake of this project, an assignment, there is still that term in sociology, that is called agency. So though we are, bombarded with messages, we still have our, decisions that we make, and we can choose to go with the flow of culture or go against it, which would be, considered counterculture. So we are free agents. We do have those abilities. There are consequences, obviously, for decisions that we make in specific contexts, whether we break norms, etc., folkways, etc. But nevertheless, it remains. And then just lastly, we'll go ahead and just end like we began. Socialization, the process of learning and internalizing the values, beliefs, and norms of our social group by which we become functioning members of this society. Thank you.